Hey guys, welcome back to Middle Earth Monday, and today we'll be finishing off the Hobbit 4 trio. What the hell do you call a single, a duo, a trio, a four? The 4 Hobbits will be finished by the end of today's video. We've already done Frodo, we've already done Sam, and today's video we're going to be tackling Merry and Pippin, so you're going to get a twofer in this video, so I hope you are excited. Before we get into it though, if you are enjoying the Middle Earth channel, please do make sure that you are giving the videos likes, asking questions, or dropping comments down below, and making sure you subscribe. These things cost you nothing, but they really do help push the channel out to more people and help the videos be seen by lots of more people. If you want to help support the channel even further, there's of course a Patreon linked down below. There's a whole host of different reasons to join into that, but you can check those out yourself down below. Without further ado, let's dive in and get these extra 2 hobbits painted up.
So we are going to start off with Merry himself, one of the bravest hobbits of the bunch. Or one of the smartest, I guess. I'm going to start with Iron Jaw's Yellow, and this is for his bright and colourful waistcoat. I really do enjoy painting hobbits. The only thing I struggle with a little bit is like trying to make each and every one of them unique, and then also making them look like a cohesive force. I find that really difficult task to do, so I've always struggled to paint my hobbit army. But maybe this will push me on to get a little bit more done. Rattling Grime was used for his trousers. They have this like slate grey kind of brown trousers. So Rattling Grime seemed to be the perfect color to get that done. Croak Green was used for his jacket. Once again, more natural tones, not kind of, you know, bright and shiny or gaudy. Although hobbits are very colorful, they're not gaudy, if you know what I mean. They're much more natural tones. And that's what you want to try and keep at when you're painting them. Basilic Hanum Grey was used for his cape. I definitely think we should normalize going for a walk in capes. Anywhere a hobbit went, they wore a cape. Super cool looking. Gotta respect the cape. Gulliman Flesh was used for his, obviously, face, hands, and feet. Unlike most miniatures you will paint in the world, his feet are on show, quite proudly. So you want to make sure you get a bit of Gulliman Flesh on them as well. I've always said, and I've said in a couple of videos for this series already, that Lord of the Rings miniatures aren't, you know, the best sculpted. They're quite old, they're quite dated. I love them. I think they have so much charm. They're some of my favorite miniatures that have ever existed. I'm not speaking badly about them when I say that. I just mean that they're dated these days. And I always thought that the bases of the model really pushed it up a notch, made it look really cool. And doing this series and leaving the bases just black at the end has been killing me, because I always think they don't look very good at the end of the painting video. But I know by the end of next week's video, when they have all of their basings done, that all the models are going to look so much better. So I'm very excited to bring that to you guys and show it to you at the end of next week's video. So I hope you guys are excited to see the end of the series. If this is the first video you've stumbled across, you haven't watched the rest of the series, I've done a video on every member of the Fellowship. From the original metal fellowship that came out. It was literally the first metal fellowship that came out when they started doing the models. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I've done the hobbits in pairs, but every other miniature got a video to itself. And then I'm doing a scenic base that came with the old collectible magazines like 20 years ago. And Mechanica Standard Grey is what I use to highlight that cape. Capes I find to be one of the easiest things to highlight, because they just have those natural folds, and all you need to do is put the brighter paint on the higher parts and leave all the creases nice and dark, and you get a fairly decent looking cape. From there, we're going to go over to Lauren Forrest and highlight up his jacket. Same thing again, you're not looking for like total coverage, you're just looking for all the higher areas. Leave anywhere where the shade has kind of settled into nooks and crannies, nice and dark. And even when it comes to his arms and stuff, it's like the top of the arms, and as the cloth curves down underneath his arm, you leave that nice and dark. Evil Son Scarlet was used to highlight his hair and his little adorable waistcoat. As you can see, I'm just doing little stabbing motions. I'm not trying to get a pure coat of yellow. Obviously in the movie, his waistcoat was much more ornate than you can see in a miniature like this. Hobbits are very proud of their waistcoats. Skaven Blight Dinge was used to highlight his trousers. As you can see, I'm just following very simple and effective steps. It's a contrast, it's a shade the whole model, and then give one coat of layering up, and you're going to get a nicely painted miniature. We're not talking about competition level, but to play through the story of the Ringbearer's journey and you want all the correct miniatures, this is a perfectly acceptable way of painting them all up. And if you have a cabinet displaying, you know, your entire Lord of the Rings collection painted to this standard base nicely, it's going to look great. Cadian flesh tone was used to highlight his face, hands, and his little feet. Blacked out the base. Added a little bit of Leadbelcher to re-highlight his sword. Just the pommel, crossguard, and blade. Sword gifted to him by Aragorn. And I also did his little buttons with a bit of silver as well. And now this is Pippin. And Pippin is the last member of the Fellowship to paint. Peregrine Took, fool of a Took. And we're going to start exactly the same thing. We're going to do Rattling Grime, same trousers, same kind of colors for his trousers. But other than that, all the other colors basically varied quite drastically from what Merry looked like. Selacanum Grey was used for his scarf and his little shirt. He does have a jacket, but it's wide open, unlike every other Hobbit who has their waistcoat closed. Ultrabreed's Blue was used for his jacket. Just put a nice dark base coat on the jacket. Should you hit it with a brighter color later on, make it pop. Pippen definitely has some of the brighter colors used for a Hobbit, with his blue jacket and his red cape. Very royal cape. Every other Hobbit was quite muted except his. So Flesh Tear's red was used for the cape. Being very careful not to get in on any other part of the model because it will stain it quite badly. Starting to get somewhere now. Agros Dunes was used for his hair, giving him that mousy kind of browny hair. Even though this is the last member of the Fellowship to paint for this, I think there's 7 or 8 full sets of the Fellowship that Games Workshop released, and I own every single one of them. So this will not be the last time you see me painting a Pippin. Obviously I have the Rohan Pippin and every other Pippin you can think of. The ones being carried by the Uruk-hai scouts. So I can't wait to actually bring all of them to you. Leadbelcher was used for the sword. The only sword of any significance was of course Frodo's one. The other 3 swords are just basic iron swords. I'm sure they were of good solid quality. I'm sure they were quite sharp. Aragorn wouldn't have given them a sword they didn't trust. But they weren't magnificent. Agrek Searchshade once again all over the top. I use Agrek Searchshade as I use that for pretty much all the other members of the Fellowship. So having that little brown tone right in the middle of all the paint schemes pulls them together as a collective group. It definitely helps with that idea of it being, you know, one painting style across the entire set. A bit of corn red to highlight that cape. Obviously being a little bit more careful with the red as it is a bit more bright and vibrant than the grey in the last one. So if the lines aren't quite as straight, they're a little bit wobbly, it will stand out a little bit more and we don't want that. I said a little bit quite a lot there, but let's ignore that. Altiak Blue was used to highlight his cape. His jacket, apologies. Talking about capes and then my mind's gone into cape mode. So yes, Altiak Blue on his jacket. Took me a while to find the correct blue, the one that I wanted to. Some of the reference pictures of ones that other people have painted made the blue jacket really bright. And I don't think it was as bright as they seem to make it. But they're overemphasizing it to basically make it have a really nice paint job. Stormfront and Fur once again for highlighting the trousers. The series was supposed to take 10 weeks in total. Unfortunately, we're in the 10th week now, so we missed a video due to Indomitus week. So I should have been working on the base in this one, but it's okay. 1 week behind is not too bad, so the whole series for the Fellowship is going to take 11 weeks. Cadian flesh tone to highlight the face and skin. They have very similar complexions, all the hobbits. I did go back with a touch of Kislev flesh and highlight their faces a little bit more later on. Nothing that I would bother showing on camera, not a necessary step. Just add a little bit more of a touch. And I just hit kind of tips of nose, tips of cheeks, chin, those kind of areas. Back to Leadbelcher to highlight that sword again. Obviously the brown shade, the aggro sword shade will darken down quite a lot. And that's not exactly what we want for a hobbit sword. Mournfang brown was then used to highlight his hair. And with that, we have Merry and Pippin of the Fellowship painted up and ready for their bases next week. Like I said, these are quite different in terms of color palettes, but very simple and effective jobs. Give us 2 more painted miniatures from our collection. And obviously I'm not adding to my Lord of the Rings collection a lot these days, as they don't bring out a lot of miniatures. So finishing off a Lord of the Rings model has a certain kind of amount of satisfaction, because you are shortening your backlog on the models. You're getting through your pile, which is kind of cool. So I really enjoyed the series so far. I hope you guys did as well.